are listening to How Can You Say That? Segment 8. And our hot topic tonight is ranting and raving / raging.
You added the raging on. I didn't know you added raging on to that.
Lately, I have been subjected to a lot of this. As a matter of fact, it appears to be a natural part of my podcast partner. So after listening to his most recent diatribe, I renamed him and would be remiss if I did not share. I am hoping his wife and family won't kill me, but here it is.
They're on board if you insult me. They love that.
Okay, good. Here it is. Here is his new name, Rantathan.
Instead of Jonathan, you change it to Rantathan because I like to rant. Yes.
Because his favorite thing to do is to rant. John?
Hold on a second, because you used a word diatribe. What the hell does that mean?
Time to get a dictionary.
It sounds like a Native American group that lived on the plains, the diatribes. Is it an Indian group or something?
No,
what is a diatribe? What does it mean?
It's like when you're ranting and raging and carrying on.
Diatribe?
It has many meanings, but one of them, that's what it means.
Huh.
And I get a lot of diatribe from you all week.
Yeah, okay. Well, so I have a name for you.
And what is it?
Well, you claim to be a technological whiz, and you're constantly insulting me about how you're doing all the editing work for the podcast and doing all the technical work, and I'm just coming in as the talent, and then I walk out of the studio, and you're left holding the bag with all the work. So I went back to listen to one of our previous podcasts, and you know what I noticed?
What?
Jennylyn. I noticed that the title of the podcast was not the content of the podcast. They were mismatched. Hence, your new name, because of your sloppy work, Sloppylyn, instead of Jennylyn.
Oh.
Nothing to do with your appearance. Don't take anything personal. This was strictly referring to your lack of diligence in putting together the technical aspect of our podcast. And frankly, I had sent that podcast to people, and they probably thought that I'm dealing with someone who is technologically very unsophisticated, as opposed to what you tell me that you normally are.
So
Sloppylyn,
Jonathan,
Rantathan, and Sloppylyn.
I think that is rich coming from you, considering that the majority of all of this is left on my shoulders. So let me tell
you have very broad shoulders.
Tell the viewers what
actually you don't have broad shoulders at all.
So
very broad shoulders. I may break them by accident.
We have created a separate page for our podcast so that John's rantings, ravings, and ragings are not on my 12-year-old YouTube channel to scare my viewers away.
Well, you want to keep me segregated from that, yes.
I need to keep him in a pen almost, sort of, so that I don't lose my followers. So I created a separate page for our podcast on my YouTube channel.
Now, I don't know.
And John, can I please finish?
Yes.
I had a problem with my editing software, and I called Adobe, and I shared my screen with them, and I'm not sure what they did, but I couldn't find the footage for the first
Nobody cares about your conversation with Adobe. Nobody cares.
Got loaded on.
Nobody cares. Just do your job properly. Nobody cares about the backstory about Adobe. Nobody's interested in that. They just want you to do this properly, get it posted, and so they can listen to it. They don't care how much work you put into it.
In which case, I refute the name.
You can't refute the name Sloppylyn.
I will, because I was not sloppy. I was human. Okay.
I have to tell you, I am very disturbed about something. I'm going to get the rants going right off the bat.
Okay, let's go.
I get in the mail. My neighbor of mine had a son had a bar mitzvah.
Mm-hmm.
In Hebrew, the word for a happy occasion is called simcha. A simcha, S-I-M-C-H-A. Simcha. That means a happy occasion. Yeah. It's a generic term. It could be a bar mitzvah, it could be a wedding, whatever. So I have a lot of faults. Hey, maybe you didn't notice any of my faults.
I think you're perfect. I always have.
Right. It's very hard to detect my faults.
Yeah.
They're very subtle. They're very few and far between, but if you really look closely, every so often you'll find a minor fault.
That's when you use a microscope.
Right,
Keep going,
right,
keep
right,
going,
right.
keep going, keep going.
So one of my faults is that when it comes, and it's so against my nature, and it really bothers me that I'm like this. When it comes to paying bills, I pay bills right away. The minute a bill shows up at my house, assuming it's legit, check is out the door next day.
Same way.
Sometimes I'll even drive it over to the post office and put it in the mailbox in front of the post office. I don't even, I don't play games.
That doesn't apply to me, though. I don't get your checks.
I'll just put you in the postal box and send you somewhere. Okay, so, but when it comes to going to an occasion that we're invited to, for some reason, I am horribly negligent when it comes to giving a gift. I don't know why. I have intention of giving a gift. For some reason, I just can't manage to do it on time. I'm like 2-3 years behind on some gifts. In fact, my nephew was bar mitzvahed, I think, 2.5 years ago. I just gave him the check the other day. Now, it's not like, now maybe you can say, well, being that the inflation is really high, you figure you wait for time to wear down the value of the money. And it's a good thought, but no. So anyway, the reason I'm so disturbed is I get in the mail a thank you card to my neighbor's son's bar mitzvah that we went to. And it says as follows: Dear Mr. Okay. Thank you so much for your generous gift. I am so glad you were able to share I was able to share my simcha with you. Love, Akiva. That's a nice thank you card, right?
But you never send a gift.
We didn't give a gift. No. So now I'm thinking there's two ways I can go with this. One, he's totally fucking with me and shoving in my face that I didn't give a gift and sending me a gentle reminder. Or did my negligence on giving the gift actually pay off? Because now I don't have to, because he thinks I actually gave it to him. What do you think?
You are Scrooge.
Right. Okay. So let's
do this before.
So I'm going to work under the assumption this was a gentle reminder, and he just thinks I'm a diatribe.
No, you know what?
I think I used the word wrong.
I had a party once in San Francisco, and a ton of people came, and they brought my office. We had it at the clinic that I used to own with my business partner, and people came, and when I walked into my office, it was packed with gifts, and half of them had no tags. And they were really nice gifts, but I didn't know who gave them to me, and I didn't know how to send a thank you note for the same exact reason that you have just disclosed. Crazy. I would hate to send someone a thank you note who hadn't given me a gift, because exactly what you just said.
It's horrible. It really put me in a box.
And I suspect that this person had a similar situation, and they just decided to send everybody a thank you note.
Well, I confronted him head on. He came to my house Friday night. He comes over every Friday night with his son because his wife is a big sleeper. So she goes to sleep early. They're bored. They come to our house. So I said to him, like, Steve, I go, we have to talk about this. I go, either this was a horrible mistake and someone that's supposed to get this thank you card, like my parents with the same last name, maybe you meant to send this to them. I go, but we didn't give a gift. I came right out with it. He's like, he looks at it, he goes, oh. He goes, that's weird. He goes, yeah, I don't even have an explanation for that. So I probably could have gotten away without giving the gift, but it's the right thing to do. And as I've gotten older, I've decided to do the right thing.
Thinking that.
Of course not.
It's an opportunity to heal this one.
Of course I wasn't. Right.
Giving a gift.
You know what really bothers me?
What?
Being that the topic is ranting and raving.
Yes.
We discussed how you had a Peloton. And you had a Peloton 14 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. Like one of the original Pelotons, however many years.
Maybe that's not the brand, but it does the same thing.
Okay, well that changes the whole way I look at you. Then I thought you actually had a Peloton. Now you just had like a cheap generic Peloton, like
everything I buy is a cheap generic imitation,
including your podcast partner,
including my partner. Yeah.
So, what do you think of this as an idea? I look at people. I don't go to a gym.
Why are you judging and stereotyping still?
No, that was an old topic.
No, but I see you going down that
We're not. No, I'm going to tell you why.
Okay, let's go for it.
Be patient with me. I'm slow. So this is what I'm thinking. I drive by a gym. I see all these people on bikes and treadmills and burning calories and spinning things and everything, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think of this?
Tell me.
Along the lines of being environmentally friendly. Mm-hmm. Doesn't it seem like an enormous waste of resources and energy that people are burning all this energy at a gym and have nothing to show for it at the end? Other than like cardio and they feel No, you can't interrupt my train of thought. No, you can't.
But you're saying
what if all of this gym equipment was connected to a turbine that spun around and generated power?
Jonathan?
No, I'm not kidding. I am being dead serious. Every gym has a turbine on top that spins with all of the energy from people running on treadmills and bikes and creates energy.
You know what we need to do? We need to start a book by Jonathan. And you put all these ideas you bring to the podcast every week in that book.
It's a common sense thing. It's not crazy.
No. Did I use the word crazy?
No, but you're looking at me like I'm insane. It's the look you gave me. Your eyes almost popped out of your head.
The week you come with these ideas.
Because, well, I think that's brilliant.
I think it's brilliant too, John.
Yeah. So first of all, even if not for nothing, they could generate the power to the gym itself, so that the gym itself is zero carbon or no carbon footprint or whatever.
When it comes to workout.
Well, it's saved up power. It's like saying when a solar panel absorbs the sun, what about at night? Well, it saves the power, so it's the same thing. The turbine spins, creates power.
Okay, assignment for you. On Monday, you need to start calling the gyms.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm giving people these ideas. They can run with these ideas. Now, I have another idea. I'm not going to share it because it is literally $1 billion idea. I'll tell you off the air one time. I cannot share this because someone will absolutely steal this.
Okay.
And they will make billions out of this. Okay, but I'll share that with you another time.
Okay.
You want to know what it is? Should I tell you now?
I can wait.
Okay, good. Because I really can't spoil it. But okay, so gym power, I think, and I don't even know just call it like gym power or something. I think it's brilliant.
I think it's brilliant too, John.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What makes you angry? I know we were talking the other day about
okay, so I'm going to share a story.
The medical profession.
Okay, we're going to come back to that.
Oh, you have something else.
I'm going to share a story that actually happened not so long ago, where I could have ranted and raved and raged like the person who attacked me.
Attacked you?
Yeah, this is what happened. This is what happened. I went for gas.
Okay.
And you know, when you pull into the gasoline stations, they have a pump toward the back, and then there's one toward the entrance where you drive out.
Okay.
So when I drove in, all the pumps were taken except one in the very front, and there was a woman in the back, at the back pump. And so I had two options: either to pull in front, either to back in front of her and use the empty pump, or wait for her to leave and then pull in the back so someone could come, pull in the front so someone could pull in the back. And I thought, no, that's stupid. Why should I do that? So I reversed back into the pump in front of her.
Okay.
And then I got out of my car to pump my gas, and she was raging mad.
Why?
Because I pulled in the pump in front of her.
Oh, okay.
And all she had to do was drive around me. It's not a big deal. There was a lot of room to drive around me. Everyone was doing it. And she kept raging, and I just kept ignoring her, I put the pump in my tank, and I'm pumping my gas.
You put the gas in your tank.
What did
you put the pump in. I see. Yeah, the nozzle. Yeah, gotcha. Okay. No, I'm just getting the visual. Yeah.
And so I'm pumping my gas, and I'm just not giving her any attention. But out of the corner of my eyes, I could see her rage. It was like oozing out of her pores. And she got in her car. She started to pull out, but she couldn't just go.
She couldn't go in peace.
No. She pulled up next to me, and she starts yelling at me. And I said, "Excuse me. Clearly, you're having a bad day. I'm so sorry. Listen, it will get better. God bless you."
It's so insulting.
I said, "God bless you. I hope your evening is going to be better."
And she gave you the finger, or what'd she do?
She looked at me, and she didn't get the reaction she was trying to get out of me. And she looked ahead and turned her car and just drove off.
That's such a bizarre response. It's like saying to someone, "Listen, I know you're not all that good looking, and life must be kind of tough for you to go through life with a face like that. And I get that. But don't worry, there's things that can be done and it can be fixed." Like, what kind of an answer is that to someone? Do you want to know how you diffuse a situation like that?
Listen, when she first attacked me, I felt my blood boiling, and I thought, okay, Jenny, you have two choices. You could respond in kind, or you could kill her with kindness.
You always opt for kill with kindness. Yes, I know.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm a peacemaker.
But that wasn't so kind. You said you were implying like this is all your fault because you're having a bad day. So
no. I said apparently because I couldn't understand where her rage was coming from.
Let me give you a better technique. It doesn't matter. There's angry people. There's a lot of angry people that they'll be angry at anything. But there's even a better way.
you down to where
There's a better way.
Tell me.
Okay, I may have mentioned this on one of the last podcasts. I really hope I didn't because I don't like to duplicate material.
Okay, so what was it?
Okay, so there's times where, like, I have a sports car, right? So a lot of times people get very competitive with sports cars. They start speeding past you. They want you to speed past them, and then it's like they want to race with you. And I don't do that because at my age, I'm like way past needing to race with people. When I was 17, 18 years old, yeah, I'd be right on the spot. Oh, you want to race? Oh, okay, well, yeah. Going 110 miles an hour down the highway. Doesn't matter if you knock into things, hurt people. It makes no difference. It was fun, right? Because I'm going to win this race. But at my age now and having children, I'm not an idiot anymore. So a lot of times what will happen, and people get pissed if you're not taking up them on the race. So a lot of times, like I had this incident driving to work or driving home from work maybe a year or so ago. And this guy had this beautiful Mustang and I have my Camaro, and it's always like a competitive thing, Mustangs and Camaros and things like that. Right. So we pull up to a light, and he looks at me and he's got this mean, nasty look on his face, like he wants to kill me. And he's like giving me the finger, like, let's go, let's do this with it. And I just waved, and he's like, now he starts cursing at me. He's like, come on. So I just wouldn't do it. So I start driving slow, and he takes off. And we get to the next light because, ultimately you get to a red light, and we both have to stop. And he rolls down his window, and he's screaming and he's yelling. And all I do is I roll down the window, and I go, that is such a beautiful car. What year is that? It's stunning. The guy's whole demeanor went from furious, raging anger, and he looks at me, he's like, oh, yeah, it's a 2015 Mustang GTE turbo. I go, it's beautiful. I love it. He's like, oh, thank you so much. He turned into like a little boy. And I said, nice meeting you. And I drove away. So people, specifically when they're in cars, that's the best way to get it. If they're driving like a car that their life is their car, because people like that, right? They don't have a pot to piss in. They live in a shithole somewhere, but every dime they have went into this car. It's tricked out with fancy mufflers and tinted windows and spoilers, and it bounces all over the place with fancy rims. You know the kind of car I'm talking about?
Yeah.
People like that. And these people, their life is that car. So when you compliment them on the car, even though they're raging angry, immediate diffusing of all anger. It's amazing. It's a great technique to use.
And that's what I do with people. And if you're listening to this podcast, because there's so many angry people out there, but they say it takes two to tango.
Correct.
And you need two people to fight. And if you take the path of the least resistance, it gets diffused immediately.
But you have to take the high road to do that.
Yes, but it's not always easy to do that, because I find myself engaging lately and I have to stop myself and go, no. Don't go down that slippery slope. I think that life is so challenging, and you see a person, you don't know what's going on in their world, and some of them are like a ticking time bomb.
Correct.
If you just look at them the wrong way, they're ready to rage.
Well, you always have to think to yourself, what is my goal? And the goal for me is always the same thing. I want to get home safely. If that's your motto, I want to get home safely, then you're always in diffuse mode. Because what am I going to have a fist fight with some guy on the road?
It doesn't happen on the roads. It happens everywhere. It happens in the grocery store.
Yeah, no. Absolutely. But there's other things you could do. Like you just look at the person and go, oh my God, that's a beautiful shirt. Where'd you get that? Or compliment jewel. There's going to be something. You have a beautiful smile. Those eyes, I never saw eyes like that. Beautiful. There's always something you can compliment to diffuse. It's like a disarming tactic. Yeah. And it really works.
At my work, I tell everybody they're beautiful. And I've had people come up to me and go, you tell everybody they're beautiful.
Because I've heard some people you've told that to, they don't deserve that.
No, but
so people start to not believe you when you're throwing that out at people that are so ugly.
It has to do with people's shallowness, not me. Because when you pay someone a compliment, you're not necessarily talking about how they look only. Beauty doesn't only.
No, but it has to be told in the right context. When somebody.
What do you mean?
It just has to be. You can't. Someone that's really ugly.
Who have you heard that from? Some people I work with.
I don't know who you work with, but
okay.
I've seen pictures of people you work with, and I've seen some that are nice looking, and some that if you, God forbid, told them that they're beautiful, your judgment would be worth nothing.
All beautiful, because beauty doesn't always have to do with your physical appearance.
It does.
But what if I'm deep enough to see past that?
I'm so shallow, I can't see past that.
Of course, we know this.
Beauty is skin deep, as they say. There's no depth to beauty.
What?
What?
I love when you mention the obvious. And you are obviously shallow. And I know that.
I'm actually not very shallow. I'm just joking.
I know you are.
I want to get back to Ranting and Raving because it's something that really got to me.
Tell me. Tell us. Not
Okay.
Tell us.
This has to do with the pandemic. The pandemic was a weird time, right? Remember how you look before the pandemic, every so often you'd be on a train or something like that. Well, you don't take trains, you're too fancy. You take limos and stuff. But for common folk like me that would be on a train going into the city or something, you would see an Asian person, let's say, and they're wearing a mask. And you'd be like, what the hell's wrong with that Asian person? Why are they wearing a mask? Right? This is before COVID and any pandemic thing. And then once COVID started, everyone was wearing a mask. Right? It just goes to show you how fast society changes, like the outlook on people.
But you adapt. You do what you have to do to keep yourself
correct. So we went from thinking that people wearing masks are crazy to thinking if you're not wearing a mask, you're crazy.
Hold that thought. You know what I think?
I'm going to lose it if I hold it.
You know what I think was the most bizarre about this whole going into the bank?
Oh, yeah. You can wear a mask in the bank like a bank robber, and it's totally acceptable. In fact, if you're not wearing a mask looking like you robbed the bank, they throw you out.
Remember the time you did not dare enter a bank?
Of course. Now, like I said, if you didn't wear a mask, they throw you out.
I tell you.
You're right. That's a good one.
We are so full. This life is so full of surprises, and as humans, we have to adapt. That's correct. The lesson.
But let me tell you the raging part about it. What made me crazy?
Tell me.
Okay.
Sorry.
So,
to your thought.
It's build up. It's like foreplay to what's annoying me and what I'm going to rant about. So, excuse me, I'm feeling very gassy today. I'm burping. I think peppers did that to me in my salad. No, I had like an adverse reaction.
Well, we really need to hear about your burping. But anyway, continue with the story.
One of the side effects of the pandemic was the shutting down of tasting booths.
Tasting booths?
Yeah, let me explain. Costco. You ever go to Costco?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, love Costco. I could spend all day in Costco.
You taste all that stuff they're handing out?
They have the tasting booths at Costco. You go on a Sunday morning after. It's called a tasting booth. Yes, that's what people, they taste the food. Yes. Oh. So what we would do is we would go like, all right, hey kids, let's who wants to go for lunch at Costco? I don't know what they're serving today, but let's go to the tasting booth.
Shameless. I can't believe this.
We would buy some of the products.
Save lunch money today. Let's go fill up on the samples.
It gets worse. Okay, so we go to Costco for sampling at the tasting booths. And they would usually have like, you know, something that would be considered a main, something that would be considered an appetizer, something considered a dessert. They would have a drink booth. You could actually make like a full thing. And, you know, you pretend like, you know, you go back and do it again after you did it already, but you cover your face. You think they don't realize. So you can make like go for lunch practically at Costco. And then there's another
You're teaching somebody, listen to this, your bad habits.
Did you ever hear of Bob's Furniture? You ever hear of that store?
No.
Okay. I don't know if they have it on the West Coast. They have it here. And they used to have something before the pandemic called the Sweet Shop. The Sweet Shop was located in the back of the store. It's a furniture store. It's located all the way in the back of the store. In order to get to the Sweet Shop, you have to walk around the whole store. And the salespeople at Bob's would follow you like hemorrhoids, just chasing you around. And with a notepad, like, can I help you with something? Can I help you? So they stand and wait by the door. As soon as you come in, they're on you already. So what we would do is we had to always figure out how to get to that sweet shop in the back, make a beeline for it without getting disturbed. So we'd pretend like we just don't hear anything. They'd be like, excuse me. I don't hear a thing, and I'm just headed to the back. So you get to the sweet shop. Once you're in the sweet shop, you're safe. And what the sweet shop was kind of like tasting booths. It was a snack plate, free snacks. They had ice cream, they had coffee, they had cookies, they had candy, and you could literally sit in the sweet shop like it was a restaurant and just indulge and enjoy yourself. Now, during COVID, that was shut down too. So there goes my lunch, there goes my dessert, and Sunday afternoon is completely different now. Now I got to go to a restaurant and pay. Really upsetting that this tasting booths and all that was shut down. You're looking at me like I'm crazy.
No, I'm getting to know you more and more.
The lollipops at the bank, gone. Free coffee at the bank, gone. It was like, this was life altering to me. It was horrible. So that was part of the pandemic. And then the worst part of the pandemic. And I don't even know if we should get into this.
No, keep going. I'll stop you if you get out of control. I'm good at that.
No, because this is really this parts of the pandemic is really bad. It incensed me. but I don't want Google's AI techniques to flag this. So I'm going to be very delicate about this.
To this, say the V.
I am. I'm not going to use the V word. Can we
No, just call it the V.
an injection, a shot?
People will know what you're referring to if you say the V, but if you say any garbage, I'll edit it out. So
Okay, so when it comes to COVID, we were all supposed to take something to stop it. It starts with a V, ends in an "een," has a "va" in the middle. Okay, we all know what I'm talking about, okay? And do you remember they used to run commercials?
I think he means the vaccine.
Shut up! What are you saying then?
Keep going.
We don't use that word. It's a dirty word.
Keep going.
Now, I have no problem with any of those V's that, they would give to anybody. My kids took all their V's. I took V's. And I think that some of these V's saved a lot of lives. Smallpox, polio, all these things, malaria, whatever it is. And I think that V's are great. The problem that I had was the COVID V. That one was really, really upsetting and angry.
To you, that was a W, not a V.
A W. What's a W? Whisper in. What's a W?
The alphabet. W.
Oh. Okay, but they used to run those commercials. It's safe. It's effective. It's free. Remember those commercials?
Yeah.
Now they had me at free. When I heard free, even though it went completely against my grain,
You're shameless.
When I heard the free part and the free was being drilled into my head, it was so tempting. But what bothered me so much was this whole attempt to force everyone to do this, and without really having the science behind it. And that's what bothered me. I felt like,
how do you know they didn't have the
tell you why.
science
Okay, so I'm going to
behind
tell you
it?
why, and we're going to end the whole conversation in
Hold that
quickly,
thought.
and I'll tell you how.
Can I insert something really quick before
Sure.
you finish?
Sure.
I interviewed people that were making the vaccine. I interviewed one of the presidents from Pfizer.
Stop saying vaccine.
And while they were making it, I was lucky to interview this guy from Pfizer.
Yeah.
You should go to my website and watch the interview.
Okay, I'm not going to do that, but I'll tell you why.
Thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people's concerns, and I'm hoping this is one of yours, was the speed at which this was made. And this is why I interviewed him, because I wanted to know how they were able to make it so quickly, because a lot of people that I've spoken with, since I did over a couple hundred interviews with people around the world treating COVID patients, I asked about this. And what I was told was a lot of the pharma companies produce their drugs independently. But this vaccine was funded by the government.
Stop saying the V word.
Because it had to be made
Operation Warp
Speed.
Operation Warp Speed.
But they went through all of the regular checklists. They did all of the checks and
This is all
balances.
bullshit. Can I just tell you why?
Okay.
We can end the conversation very quickly. We don't need to harp on this.
Everything.
I do. The answer to this is show me the 5-year study. Show me the 10-year.
But you don't have to do a 5-year study for everyone, or
Show me a 5 or 10-year study and show me the data on that. And you know what? The answer.
Look at me. Do I look like I'm dying?
What's that rash all over you?
But we already decided that's probably
No, but you stopped the oat milk and you still have the rash. Okay. Now
So are you implying that
I'm
my
not implying
rash
anything.
is related to?
No, because as they always say,
Because-
there's no way of connecting the two. There's no correlation of the two. You can't connect them. There's no way of saying that this is definitively a 16-year-old kid gets a shot, 3 days later dies of a heart attack on a baseball field. But you can't connect it. There's no way of putting that together.
But
Okay.
this is true of every
But no,
single
here's the answer.
drug.
Don't force me. Don't force me to take something that doesn't have a
Nobody
long-term study.
You haven't.
I could have
taken-
people lost their jobs because they wouldn't take it. People weren't allowed into places, weren't allowed to do things, weren't allowed to travel.
But do you
But the premise was
understand?
this. No, the premise was this. Yes, the premise was this. And it turned out to be complete bullshit. If you take the shot, you will not be able to get it and give it to somebody else. Joe Biden, if you go back on YouTube, watch all the clips of him saying that. And it turns out it had nothing to do with transmission, because even when you got the shot, you still got COVID. So what they then fell back on was, well, it'll be less severe. If you get COVID, it'll be less severe.
That's true.
Based on what?
I know people who had it before the shot
Yes.
and they took the shot, and when they got it the second time,
Maybe they got it second time. The
it
immunity.
felt-
No, excuse me. They had natural immunity at that point because they already had COVID. The natural immunity created the antibodies to fight the COVID. Now, again, I never had the shot, and I had COVID in October of 21.
and you ended up in the hospital.
No, I didn't.
You told me you did.
No.
You
I said I
you
went to the
were in
hospital.
emergency.
No, I said I went to the hospital to get a monoclonal antibody treatment. I didn't have to go to the hospital. I went in for an hour and a half to take the IV drip. It's the bag of whatever's in that bag, and which I regret doing that also. But my doctor got me all freaked out at a moment of weakness, and I did it.
Have moments of weakness.
It was. I
No.
edit that out. I don't want anybody to know I have weakness.
It's an oxymoron, John.
And by the way,
Having
as far as rage goes,
weakness.
rage, you know what the insurance company, what the hospital charged the insurance company for the monoclonal antibody treatment? I was there for 2 hours. It's one bag of liquid that gets injected. You sit in a chair for an hour, and you know how much they charge? They bill the insurance company $20,000 for the monoclonal antibody
I have
treatment.
to say that is
Bullshit, total bullshit. Which, so again, we could rage about the cost of medicine also, but my point that I'm making is that this was a government. It was like the government hired an advertising agency to be able to sell this to the public and force them to do this because they would be ostracized if they weren't. And without a long-term study, how dare you force people to put things in their body that they may not be comfortable doing?
okay, John.
And by the way, let me just finish one thing. And if the answer was it's actually stopped transmission, so you're making it safer for other people because they won't get it, I could understand that. That argument turned out to be, as Joe Biden would say, a load of malarkey.
Okay, John. Here's what I have to say on this topic. I am not privy to everything that's going on behind the scenes, so I will not argue with you about this.
Thank you.
Okay? What I did was my research, and my information came from humans like us. So everything you have to take with a grain of salt.
Your information came all from deep state, came from the doctors who were tied in with the drug companies who were developing the product,
He knows
who are the
everything.
government.
How do you know where I got my information?
Because you interviewed doctors from around the world.
But they weren't connected to any governments. They were
All
just
the doctors
saying-
were. Have you ever come across a doctor that said, "Don't take this"? It was so rare. I think the doctors
Let me
were
ask you
forced by the
something.
government
Let me
and
ask
threatened
you
they were going to
something.
lose their medical license
John,
if they didn't
John.
push people to do it.
When it comes to your expertise,
I made that part up, but I think it might be true.
when it comes to your expertise, when you are speaking about what you're an expert on, people who are communicating with you that are not in your field, if they trust you, they will take your word for what you're saying. Doctors have studied medicine. I was married to a doctor. I've dated a few. These guys have studied 10 plus years to become doctors. So when they're speaking to you, they're speaking from experience and what they've studied and what they have had. They've had scientific projects to prove. So you can't argue with doctors because you're not in medicine.
I can
And
argue
I
with anybody,
understand-
and my arguments are not based on any facts, and you know that. I just like to argue. And when you have a doctor,
It's the first time in my life since I've known him. I've heard him say something.
I'm being serious about what I said before. I'm joking when I said it. But you know what? We were talking before even about a drug that you were looking into before. And we were talking about the corrupt system that our medical profession is. When you have drug reps that come into doctors' offices and try to talk about their products, depending on the doctor's relationship with the drug rep would determine whether he does or doesn't prescribe that. A lot of times in the past, these drug reps and drug companies have conferences for doctors that they sponsor. They would take them out for meals, for dinners, buy them things. How can you be objective about a prescription you
Okay,
give to
stop.
one of your patients?
Stop. I worked in that system, so I can speak to it.
Yeah, you're the perfect example of the person that walks in and influences the doctor to prescribe your drug.
I did, but listen to
Okay,
me.
it's corrupt.
Listen, you don't
It's not
understand-
based on sound medical thing. It's based on him thinking that you're hot.
Listen to this. Hospitals, depending, especially if it's an HMO or a PPO, they have formularies. And what that means is they have a set of drugs that their doctors are allowed to prescribe. And a lot of times the cost of the drug influences that decision. So I can come in and be selling a miracle drug, but if it's not on the hospital's formulary, the doctor is prohibited to prescribe it. And a lot of what influences that
But
decision
they have a few in the same category and they could choose from which ones they
has
want.
to do with the cost of the drug is often what it is. Because there's some drugs where you need one pill and it will do the job of 5 days.
I think it has to do with the hotness of the drug rep. Okay, that's my opinion. And I have many friends that are doctors that have actually told me that they are skewed by the drug reps that come in and based on their appearance. I'm just saying.
Okay, so your friends have told you that, and I'm sure in some situations it's true. It's true. But I worked as a
How many ugly female drug reps do you see?
I never
Like
see
none?
any. I've never seen anybody. I don't see people as ugly unless they're nasty.
Okay, no, I don't mean ugly as in, I mean physically unappealing. Generally speaking, do you see, it's like looking at,
Are you implying I got my job because of how I look?
yes.
So basically, you're sitting in front of my face telling me I lack ability to do my job, and because God created me a certain way, I was able to lock down certain jobs.
Yes. I'm joking. No.
I'm going to take
No, your brains and your intelligence are the primary thing. But when you put that together with someone that's attractive, it makes for a deadly combination when being utilized against a male
Can I
counterpart.
tell you, it doesn't matter how cute I was and how sweet I was and how intelligent I was. The doctor was
Or how modest you are. Yes.
I am modest.
I heard. Yes.
But it doesn't affect the doctor's ability to write the drug or
Yeah, of
not,
course not.
unless he is in a private
All right,
practice.
moving on.
No, unless he's in a private practice. And let me tell you
I'm
a
talking about
story.
private practice doctor. I'm
Okay.
not talking about
Okay,
hospital
John.
doctors.
John, I was in a
We
market.
don't need to beat this thing to death. Go ahead.
Yes.
Go.
So here's a story you should know. Drug reps and pharmaceutical reps are no longer allowed to bring doctors gifts, take them to dinner. It's been prohibited since Viagra came on the market.
And why is that?
And what I was
Because the
told,
system was
one
corrupt.
morning I came to work and I came to this doctor's office and I was told we are no longer allowed to accept pens, notepads, gifts, lunches, nothing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm someone, when I hear something like this, I have to dig behind the scenes and find out what happened. And I was privy to Viagra was the culprit. Apparently, when Viagra came on the scene, they got a boat or a yacht or something
Mm-hmm.
and took a lot of doctors on this
And
yacht
gave them the pills with beautiful women.
with prostitutes. This is what I was told. Don't take my word for it, but it makes a lot of sense.
So the Viagra's like in a candy dish.
One of the doctor's wives found out.
Oh, that didn't end well, I'm sure.
Did not end well, especially for us as reps who came to the
Well,
office.
credit to Pfizer, who produced Viagra originally, for coming up with that concept. Brilliant.
I don't know if it's true, so don't quote me on it. But
Well, I wouldn't know
something
about-
drastic happened, and all of a sudden we were banned from bringing any gifts, taking the doctors to
Makes
lunch,
sense.
because I did a lot of that: lunch with doctors, dinners with doctors.
Yeah.
You know,
I have friends who are drug reps. I know the game.
Yeah, but it's not, at least in California, it's no longer allowed. So.
I think in New York it's not either. I'm pretty sure. So let's I wanted to share something with our what do we call it? We can't call them viewers, right? Because they don't view, but what listeners. Okay. We're going to probably go on a hiatus for maybe like a week and a half, 2 weeks or something like that. So the reason why is we're both going to be traveling. I'm going to be traveling overseas.
But I have a very handsome, smart guy who's going to replace you.
No, of course. I'm assuming that you.
And guys, if you like him better, don't be shy. Please write to me because I want to make you happy with the content, and I will bring you the better guy.
You have a very deep bench of talent behind.
I will share this podcast with a better man.
I would really hope you don't, because if the listeners get familiar with someone else and like them, I won't be invited back, and that'd be very, very upsetting to me.
Yeah, well, John, this is about me and the listeners, not you so much. And the fact that you're leaving a void to be filled, it's not my fault.
So you're saying there's very little shoes that have to be filled. They're not like, it's not like filling big shoes. It's very little, like toddler-sized shoes that
for more reasons than one, that comment is true.
Asshole. So the one thing I usually do before I go on vacation is my parents live like diagonally across the street from me, and I bought the house diagonally across the street from them out of spite.
so they can make you waffles and banana muffins.
Yeah, so I could torment them. I bought it out of spite. I did not want to live there, but
That's
I figured
he can't be too far away from his parents, and he's doing it under the guise of trying to punish them. He's
Not true.
Mommy's boy.
Not true at all. So what I always do is before I leave for vacation, I call my father and go through a checklist with him of things he needs to do because he keeps an eye on the house. Right. So I totally forgot to do that. And they're probably going to go to sleep soon. And if you don't mind, can I just make a quick call?
Oh my God! Are you going to torment those people?
No, I'm going to be nice. I got a lot of blowback from the last time. So this time I'm gonna try to be nice. Hold on. Let's see if he answers. I'm calling the house phone.
Hope he doesn't.
It's a wild card.
Poor guy. If he knows what's good for him, he won't answer.
Let's see what happens.
Hello?
Ma!
What?
Where's Daddy? Oh, wait! Before you put Daddy on, I gotta ask you a question. Carly is demanding banana muffins for us to bring to Israel.
I don't know about that. Have to check.
No! You have to make them fresh. She doesn't want old ones from your freezer. She wants fresh ones.
Chocolate chip?
Yes, chocolate chip.
I
gotta talk to Daddy. Where is he?
Robbie! Pick up the phone.
I have no idea why they tolerate this.
I know it's for you. Pick up the phone, Robbie. Pick up the phone.
Come on! Ma!
Hurry up! Robbie, you
I get
pick
her
up.
riled up.
What is this, more insanity?
No, we're leaving on Tuesday. So I need you to check the heat every day.
I'll do it.
The newspaper, I cancel the newspaper, make sure there's no newspaper. The mail, make sure you get the mail every day. Just leave it on the kitchen table. Feed all the fish. The car keys, I'm leaving the car keys in the Pier 1 box on the thing. Start all the cars every few days. Run the water, the faucets, and flush the toilets to make sure no pipes freeze.
You got anything different than I always do?
No, but I don't want you to forget any of them.
I'm already forgot
All
it.
right, put mommy on.
You're a lunatic.
Put mommy on.
Hold on. We want you again.
Come on.
What?
Ma!
Hello?
Yeah, also we have like 6 apples. I have 6 apples that I have to bring you. What's the turnaround time to make the apples into something before we leave?
I can't make everything. They're leaving Tuesday. It can't be done.
It can be done.
After.
No!
Then bring what you want to bring.
Goodbye! Forget everything.
Rotten
Goodbye.
apples, you get a rotten apple
Okay.
pie.
Goodbye. Forget it. Goodbye. These people are crazy. These are not normal people. I told you.
Your own father called you a freaking lunatic. I knew you were a lunatic.
They normally call me mentally ill.
You are. You are.
See, this is the dynamic.
These poor people, you torture that woman.
Well, I told you I
You
moved across the street. I was
Make muffins and something with apple.
chocolate chip ones. Yes.
Day?
Well, okay. So I was asking what the turnaround time was on the apples. I bring apples. How soon is that turned into a pie?
She have.
3.
You act like you're the only one, John.
Okay. I'm the oldest. Doesn't that mean something?
It means you should be the better behaved one.
Set the example.
Yes, of course.
I set a different kind of
Have
example.
you ever heard of setting examples?
I did. I'm not very good at setting examples for my children either.
So this is really in line with tonight's topic. You're raging at your poor mother, and she's just sitting there like, and your dad flushed the toilets,
Well, because I don't want the pipes to freeze. The water has to circulate around the house.
turn on the cars every couple of days.
Well, you don't want the batteries to die. It gets cold. It's winter. It's New
Jeez,
York.
I wish I could. Well, first of all, I would never do that to my mom or dad.
Why are you making me feel bad?
You should. Just yelling at them. Of course,
I was gently reminding my father what needs to be done.
Your idea of gentle,
You never heard me get crazy with them.
and I hope I never do.
Listen, if you went through the things I went through in childhood, you would understand.
Oh, so
It's
this
not
is
that cut and
revenge?
dry.
Is this revenge?
No, it's not revenge. They understand that this is the dynamic. It's just how it goes. You want to call your mother or something?
No, because first of all, my phone call with my mother would be very different. It'd be like, "Hi, Mom, how are you doing? How's it going in Guyana?"
We both have very different styles
Everything.
of relationships.
Yeah, thank
Absolutely.
God that all we do is a podcast together, nothing else.
My son's on a date tonight.
Good.
Yeah. Can I give you a little color on how this works in the Jewish world?
Yes, tell me.
Okay, so
I've never been in the Jewish world.
right, and you probably never will be. Why would you be in the Jewish world?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not Jewish.
Correct. You don't look Jewish, that's for
I
sure.
don't have anything in common with Jewish people. They would throw me out in a week.
You spend too much. We can't. You'd give us a stomach ache.
I what?
Spend too much money.
Whose money do I spend? Yours?
No, your own, but
Okay.
it would just stress me out. I can't watch people spend like that in fancy clothes and cars and things like that, perfumes and makeup. It would give me a heart attack. Why are you looking at me like that?
You're sad.
Anyway, so now it made me lose my train of thought. What was I saying? Oh, so dating. So when my son got very religious, and the ultra religious Jewish people, they have their own system for dating. They work through a matchmaker. This matchmaker in Hebrew is called a shadchan. A shadchan is a matchmaker.
Does your son mind that you're telling this?
Probably.
Okay.
So what happens is you put together a resume, like a resume for a job. The resume talks about like your family and what you do for a living and a little bit of your background and stuff like that. And the resumes go to this matchmaker, and the matchmaker takes your resume and matches it up with a girl's resume and sees if they can put together a good fit. So my son has been going out on these dates set up by the matchmaker. So he's out tonight with one girl for the third time. And a lot of times what happens is with these datings is they don't waste any time. A lot of times if things go well, by like date number 5 or 6, they're already talking about getting married and getting engaged. And
you're okay with this?
Well, it's not my style, but it's the way it's done. And the divorce rate is very, very low, like ultra low, lower than almost anything in the world. So there might be something to it. I don't know, but that's what's going on in my house.
Well, it depends on what you marry for. Some of us marry for love. Some of us marry for convenience. Some of us marry for connections. I mean, it depends. Whatever floats your boat, I don't judge.
I most certainly did not marry for economic reasons, that's for sure. When I got married, my wife came into the marriage with $5,000. And I don't think she contributed a dollar since.
And I'm sure she loves that you're sharing this. I will help her kill you.
Every time she goes to buy something, and I'm like, whoa, it's expensive. She goes, I came into this marriage with $5,000 and I'm using it. I go, you used that up in year number 1. It's year 29 now. What are you talking about?
Way to go, Carol. Way to go, Carol.
She got so much mileage out of that $5,000.
And you keep getting mileage. You work hard.
Work hard.
Your tip from
She
Jenny.
doesn't have a job.
Who keeps your house? Who cooks your food? Who cleans the house? Who takes care
I could
of
probably
the
hire
kids?
someone for $250 a week to do that.
You're in La La Land, John.
$350?
You have no idea what it takes.
Okay, for
to
$500. I could definitely find someone for $500.
keeps a beautiful home. I'd like to see you do a better job for your 500.
No, I said I would hire someone for $500.
Go, let's see you find them. The first night you come home, you'll throw up.
I don't like anybody else touching my laundry.
And
Weird
your
about the laundry.
food won't taste the same.
I can't. People have live-in like housekeepers and live-in help, and so I don't get that. Isn't that a weird thing when you think about it?
Yeah, I don't like people. I like to live alone.
It's not the living alone. It's especially if you're a guy and you have a wife, and then you have this other woman living in the house. Like the dynamic when you think about it is kind of weird.
A lot of people do it. What's so weird about it?
I don't know. You kind of feel like, as the guy, you probably feel like you're living with 2 women.
Yeah, you would feel that way.
I definitely would feel that
Of
way. It's
course.
weird.
But then you're weird.
Well, how many celebrities have had
Yeah, but
affairs with their
just-
babysitters, the kids' babysitters, and stuff like that? I mean, if you're interacting like that, someone's actually living in your house.
But
And,
if you have integrity, the babysitter could look like Miss America and you won't touch her. It's all about integrity, John.
oh, it's about integrity.
Are you implying that you're lacking?
In that situation, I might be weak. I don't know. But my wife isn't stupid. She intentionally doesn't have domestic help like that.
So we're out of time, guys.
What? Oh, come on. I didn't get to half the things I wanted to rant about. That's not fair. Can we do extended air? Can we do an extended?
Go for it quickly.
No. I don't want to. No, there's a limit to people's
Guys,
patience.
we know that you could only listen to so much of John. So, on this note, we thank you so much for listening. Hopefully, you found this session entertaining. And
Wait, I want to say one more thing. You know, I was putting a lot of thought into our podcast, right? And I was thinking, you know, I'm not a podcast listener. You know, I don't know. I mean, I've watched like Joe Rogan's podcast, stuff like that. You know, I really hope that people that listen to our podcast are listening because they're entertained.
yes,
You know,
that's
for
the
me,
point of this.
exactly. The point, I want to be very clear that the point of what we do and why we do it is to make people laugh, to make people have a good time, and to make people just take 45 minutes out of the day and enjoy themselves. It's not, maybe you come away learning something, maybe, you know, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but the point is entertainment. That's how I look at this. And I just want to really, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, thank everyone for allowing us into your home or your car or wherever you listen to your podcast. And we really and sincerely appreciate that. We will be back again probably in about 2 weeks. Like I said, we're going on a short hiatus. But again, if there's any topics you want us to talk about or anything you want to throw at us, feel free to leave that in the comments section on Jenny's website. And the stage is all yours.
Thank you for listening to How Can You Say That?
Or how the hell can you say that? Are you crazy?
The podcast where we are raw and authentic. And we thank you for listening. See you soon with segment 9. Bye.
Bye.